There we go. Mike's working again. Good afternoon, Shaggy SoCal, Tool for Forza, and again, new season, TNT Thursday Night Thunder in the 2017 Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio. I think that's what it is. Let's select the car. Let's get the full name here. Quadrifoglio. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm pronouncing it right. My Italian's horrible. But speaking of Italian, the second race for our first week in this car is at Mugello's club circuit. So, Mugello in general is a really good place to test at if you want to test a car's medium speed corners over some elevation changes, some off camber stuff. This car is very interesting here. So we're Hakone. Yeah, there's some elevation changes, but it's pretty smooth. And only a couple of curbs you got to watch out for. Mugello is a little bit more challenging in that regard. So, but again, I'm spending a lot of time talking and not a lot of time driving. So let's just go ahead, like any track guide. I'm going to go run a couple of laps, talk a little bit as I'm running those. Do a slower track walk, into specific corners, getting a little more specific what I'm trying to do with the car and what I think it likes, and what it doesn't like. And then kind of run a mock race to kind of get an idea of what a race here at Mugello will look like, at least as far as race length. Hopefully, if I get the drivatars right, maybe have some traffic to work through. But anyhow, enough talking. Let's make sure we get set up here for the car. Should be medium tires, 100%. That's fine. Let's run some laps. Track that has the race timer at start finish. Why we can't have that as part of our display, I don't know. Be really helpful. A little too hot. Too much complaining about Forza, not enough driving. Okay, second gear. Third, this is driver's choice. The corner worker stand. A little bit of a bump there, getting back onto the main straight. All right, heading down to turn 1 here. I'm going to be looking for the light pole on the right side. And as I get to that, brake, kind of cheat into the inside curbing, second gear, hold it to the inside, gently roll back in. Let's put it back down to second this time. Curbing there, that's why I don't like second there. We'll have to figure that one out during the race. Gear down to third. The yellow curbings are good apex markers, at least as far as where the apex is, but you really don't want to touch them. Brake there, down to third. Brake right there, stay third. That's a little bit better. We'll do one more. Here. And the throttle, third. We'll leave it in third this time. A little bit better. All right, so very quick lap, less than a minute. So let's do the track walk. So again, coming down to the turn one, I'm using the light pole there on the right side as my braking point, and you can see on two subsequent laps as I had the exact same lockup. So um, brake, 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 down to second gear. Again, on my own, I tend to brake across the track, aiming for the inside of the inside curbing. So if I do it right, I'll release the brakes as I get to the curbing, second gear. If I got my braking right, I should be able to hold the inside curbing all the way through turn one. If I get it wrong, I might push a little bit off the curbing and have to bring it back across. Certainly, if somebody's taking a look on the inside, I'm not going to break across on their nose. So I'll try and be a little respectful there. Um, but again, second gear through here, balancing the throttle. I'll probably more often than not, I do like to try and keep the car all the way to the inside, all the way, and keep it on the right side on exit. This car, especially on the harder compounds, is probably not going to let me do that. Especially as I'm trying to balance the throttle, I just may have to go with the understeer and let the car come out a little bit. But I don't want to go all my preference. I don't want to go all the way out to the left. I have to bring the car back all the way to the right. It's such a short shot, and I don't think there's much of an advantage, acceleration wise to do that. Personally, just with the nature of the handling of the car, especially the back end on the weight transfers, the less I'm having this car go from one side extreme to the other side, the better. So I would rather have the car kind of maybe at worst middle of the track, bring it back across, kind of keep the weight in the middle. Braking for this next left-hander, third gear. I'm finding I have to brake a little bit sooner. Usually I use kind of the course condition lights to help with that. And here at Mugello, I'm using a lot of the where I'm seeing rubber that's kind of pre-existing on the track to kind of know where to brake. But it is right about here, just before that disappears from view. It's easier to see at speed, but you'll see as the race goes on, you'll see the discoloration as the track rubber's in. I'm going to be braking just before I get there. It might even line up, and I'll try and pay attention to it. So usually I'm trying to look more at the course condition light, but we'll also see just kind of in relation to the curbing on the outside. Am I braking as I get to that curbing where it changes color? So those are the things I'm kind of looking for. My general preference is if I can get my brake, I would prefer to do these corners in third. Again, it's that whole, if I put it in second, it puts the car up on its front tires a little bit more, gives you a little bit more point into the corner, but then I find trying to balance it in second gear, the car's a little sketchy. It gets a little, it gets very nervous, especially if you're trying to use the curbing to get through these next couple of corners. So my preference is I'd rather put it back on its heels a little bit in third gear, and it'll have more of a tendency to understeer in third than in second, and I'd rather deal with understeer than a back end that wants to swing around and say hi. So for me, it'll be a third gear corner. I'm undecided on the curbing here for this turn. Other cars, if it was a little more compliant, I would be really trying to get the left sides across the curbing to try and keep the car on the left side to set up for the next corner against this left-right combo. The right-hand turn's more important because it leads on to kind of a little bit of a straightaway that if you get a good run through and the car in front of you doesn't, you might be able to maybe get alongside and maybe start to try and set a passing situation up. But what I'm finding is crossing over the curb is fine, but it's bringing the car back across the backside of the curbing. There's been a couple of times where I felt the back kind of shift a little bit. Not terrible where it's going to snap and spin out or like that, but it's just I'm still debating. So it's one of those. I need some more laps to really get comfortable with what I want to do here. But ideally, I don't want the car to be If I do it right, I really don't want the car to be any more than mid-track on the way out. If I can keep it more to the left side, that's great. I might bring it back a little bit to the left. Um, but again, with this combo, once I come out of this corner, I want to be able to straighten the wheel and give the car just that brief moment to get its weight centered before I ask it to go the other direction. I don't want to be still here and then all of a sudden go the other direction, and where I'm throwing the weight from one side of the car to the other. I want to give it a little bit of a pause, or just make it a more gradual shift. The car, so the car's a little bit more compliant. That's my preference. Is the best way I can describe it. Um, but still third gear for this next corner. If you notice, there's two bread loaf curbs there on the inside, just on the other side of the curbing. Um, Stay off of them. They will upset the back of the car, will pitch you sideways, put you out on the gravel on the other side. At worst, they might spin you out depending on how you hit them and how fast you're going and where the weight's sitting on the car. But as far as reference points, for me, I'm always trying to use, I don't mind if I miss the first one. I'm trying to use for me, it's the second one that I want to try and use as my apex. So I'm trying to late apex the corner with that second bread loaf curb. So that's a little extreme. But if I'm here at this point, maybe I'm a little bit on the curb. At this point, third gear, I should be able to start rolling back into the throttle, bringing the car out to the left side. And yeah, this one, I will consistently just intentionally bring the car across and straddle the curbing on the way out. I'd rather do that to help carry speed out than to be on the curbing with the left side tires. If you want to be neat and tidy, you can, but now we hit that compromise of, because you're not, you might compromise a little bit of exit speed out if you're going to keep it neat and tidy. So I would just say, it's not one of these, don't kiss the curb, don't just get your tires on it. If you're going to cross over it, get the lefts onto this curbing here, get the car straight, and then just slowly, just barely bring the car back across. It's the easiest, it's the most stable way to do this exit and not put the left sides in a position where they're going to kiss the curbing. You're still going to have a little bit of steering, and then you lose the back end, and it wants to then go nose into the wall on the right side. So it'd be easier to see at speed. But then I'm going to bring the car back across to the right side, hopefully with a good run out of the corner. Now there's the 100 board there. I'm braking a lot later for the 100 board. So for me at this point, and you might be able to see on the screen or might not, but as you look down towards the turn in for this next left-hander, you can kind of see the pre-rubbered in line. It's a little bit darker than the rest of the asphalt. I'm aiming to stop or hit the brakes just before that. So first thing is, can I spot that? Try to spot that. It looks like it's almost a little bit past where the light poles are there leading into the next corner. But for me, I'm going to brake right about here. You can already kind of see, I'd almost describe it as either the front tires are chattering or it's the marks that are left because everybody's scraping their splitters on the pavement. But this is about where I'm going to be braking. Still, I'll be a fourth gear at this point, back down to third. And again, same left-right combo, though I don't think it's quite as sharp as the previous set, but it's the same general philosophy here. When I go to turn in third gear, if I get my braking done right, I do want to try and use a little bit of the curbing if I can, but again, we have yellow bread loaf curbs just on the other side of the curbing in the flat there. Good reference points for the apex. But stay off of them. It will buck the car a little bit, and this car does not like big curbs. So going to try and use that as the apex. Same general philosophy. I want to try and carry as much speed through here as I can, but I don't want to carry so much speed through that all of a sudden I'm here trying to set up for the next corner. So again, looking at the corners here, the left-hander isn't that important because it's just a little short. You're barely straight before you're turning again. It's the right-hander that's more important. So ideally, kind of like what I was trying to do in the other corners, and we'll see how well I do it, especially on different tires as I go all over the place and make a whole bunch of a mess of things. For my exit here, if I do it right, at at worst I'm mid-track. At best, I'm going to try and maybe be a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep it all the way to the left. I think just the understeering nature of the car. Um, I'm going to actually just like if I can at least get it to the middle, I think I'm good. If I can get it to the left side a little bit more, that's even better. But once I'm out, I want to again give the car a little breath to get the weight center before I ask it to go right. And still third gear. Again, I'll lift to the throttle and turn in. Going to use the bread loaf there as apex. Probably get on the curb, maybe a little bit later of an apex. Roll into the throttle. Same thing on the exit. I'm just going to cross over, use the exit, get the car straight, then bring it back onto the pavement. Again, nothing too severe with the steering where I risk getting the back of the car upset as it crosses back over. Um, Again, third gear, maybe up to fourth. We'll see. But setting up for the last couple of corners, I tend to use. There's two things I see um, that my eyes pick up on that I kind of peripherally look at. The easiest thing to spot is the corner worker stand there, but then just back a little bit to the right. Looks like that's an outhouse or a porta potty. Braking for this next corner is going to be in between those two. So, and again, depending on the tire, the hard compound, I might be braking a little bit as I get to as the porta potty goes out of screen. The a soft tire, I might brake as I get to the corner worker stand. But it is going to be about here. Brake, brake, brake. If I'm in fourth gear, I'll bring it down to third. I'm going to be off the curbing. The releasing the brake and turning in is going to be somewhere. At least I think, if I was paying attention, is going to be somewhere about where this access road meets the course. And that's if I can get my braking done, I can release. I can release and start to turn in a little bit for this next corner. Third gear, ideally, I'm trying to use as much of the curbing as I can. Crossing over, bringing the car back out. More often than not, I'm going to be miss that, or I might just get on the inside curbing. That's fine. Let the car come all the way out, still third gear. The temptation is going to be to cross over and use the exit here to set up for the final corner. I would advise against that because right when you're going to need to start braking, you're going to get onto curbing, and it's a rough curbing, and any any extra bumps trying to get the car slowed down to brake for the last corner is not going to be helpful. So try to if you do get out here, try to at least you know get off, get back on the pavement before you get to the braking. For me, I'm going to brake as soon as I just about as I get to the inside curbing here. Third gear, brake, brake, brake. I'm braking to the green on the opposite side. This is about where I'll release the brakes in third gear, and if I've done it right, I might have to trail brake a little bit just to keep slow the car down if I do it wrong. But what I'm aiming to do is there's two quote unquote apexes that I'm looking for. The first one I'm looking for is the access road that joins the track here. That's the first thing I'm aiming for to get the car as close to it as I can. And then as I get to here, the next thing I'm looking for is, the kind of the painted surface that kind of separates the front straightaway from the pit entry. So if I can get it here, then I can hold this inside all the way through the final corner out onto the front stretch, and there's a little bit. Be careful. You might spin the tires up a little bit if you're aggressive on the throttle and you haven't quite unwound the wheel yet. But that'll get you back out in the front stretch. And third gear up to fourth, up to fifth, and then again because Mugello kind of shifts to the right and to the left after start finish, I just kind of point it to the inside so that I'm at the right side as I get to start finish, and then that kind of puts me on a fairly straight line down to turn one. But that's Mugello. Um, Again, this was my favorite place to demonstrate how too much steering can wear your tires prematurely and slow you down. But then I'm just going to come back and point out the thing I hate about Mugello, at least this version of it when we race here, is the ideal line to get onto the front straightaway is also the line you need to be on and have to really brake for to get into pit lane. And there's some risks with pit lane if you're not careful. So, but that's track walk for Mugello. Let's go ahead and get set up for the race, and let's just see how many how many laps we're going to be doing here. Let's go ahead and quit, and then we'll load up and see what we got going on. Advanced Alpha. Saved options. We'll load Hakone, but I am gonna make a couple of tweaks. Obviously, I need to change the track. So let's go get that right. Up circuit, and let's go to my trusty little cheat sheet. How many laps do I think we're gonna do? Mugello Club. Darn it. I didn't. So let's see. It was about a minute lap on the hard tires. So hang on, let me do a quick calculation. So 30-minute race, it's 1,800 seconds divided by, we'll say 61 seconds. That's 29 laps. That doesn't factor in bucket delays or pit stops. So we'll do 27. We'll do 27 and see how long that takes. Let me just log that so I keep track of that. Okay, so 27 laps. Certain time of day, random, that's fine. Rolling 420. Random weather, yes, but I don't want rain. So Forza, give me dry weather. Dry weather, that's what I should be asking for. The only change I'm going to make on the drivatars is, I gave them a ceiling between 700 and 800. I'm going to lower them down to 775 on the top end, and see if that kind of bunches the field up a little bit. I want the cars at the front to be fast enough where maybe early on they're pulling away a little bit, but I'd like to be able to have something to chase down and maybe some cars to set up some passes. But we'll leave it at that. Still going to do the touring cars. I think that worked well at Hakone. Okay, now that we're loading into the race, well, let's see what we get first. Okay. Forza's decided to be kind and give me ideal conditions. I think looks like it's noon and clear, mostly clear, but looks like early afternoon. Okay. All right, so let's talk about tire wear that I came up with or that I tested. Again, 60% will hit roughly, soft, medium, hard, laps 7, 11, and 15. Again, that was done on controller, so on a wheel you might get a little bit more. It might be either they won't be as far over 60% on that lap, or you might be able to get an extra lap out of it. But 27 laps, it looks like a one stopper on mediums and hards is going to be the ideal way to go. I don't know that a two stopper, the guys at the front, you might be able to get away with a two stopper because you've got that time gap buffer. But again, this is where I suck with race strategy. So I'll just give you the information. I'll do what I do. You do what you do, and we'll see where things are at the end of the race. But what I'm going to do is let's go fuel and tire. We're going to go the hard compound, and we're going to get 37 laps out of it. But I don't want 37. We'll do 28 on the fuel. Again, I don't want to mess with that. And so 27 lap race. So we'll see. This one, it's probably going to be, again, shorter races. The tire wear makes a one stop. It's a one stop I think is viable. So we're going to try to do 16 on the hards, and then finish the race on the mediums and see how it goes. Let's go ahead and start the race. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Again, just to keep the driver tires from, keep them from bunching up too much. A half-second delay, rolling start for everybody, and that should spread the field out a little bit. figure I'll probably pick up a spot or two before turn 1. Careful here, got a bit of a run. Ah, that's the new Elantra touring car that we'll be racing next season. Speaking of which, I think Dresky's got an initial tune set up for that, but I should probably go test drive for him at some point. Push, 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 cold tires. Big run. I'm gonna take a look. Yeah, it's just the understeer, understeer, understeer. So like that left-right combo, you know, just pay attention to what the car. If you're thinking, if you get if someone goes wide there, or they're turning in, like, oh, they're turning in early, chances are they're going to go wide on exit. And that's what happens when you're a little, again, I can't talk and drive at the same time. And that's what happens when you get a little too aggressive with the throttle over a curb. So yeah, with kind of the understeering nature of the car, if someone gets a little bit wide, say the first kind of part of that chicane, that left-right combo, you know, you might be able to set them up on exit if you get a better run out of the second corner, like I'm going to try to do here. But again, giving up a lot of handling to the touring cars, and I am on hard tires, which also makes things a little bit more problematic. Braking there a little bit early, but come on. The other thing I'm doing is I tend not to do it anyway, but maybe I don't want to cross over the curbing there. It's on the downshifting. I'm not trying to do a lot of engine braking, just out of fear of accidentally downshifting too early and spiking, you know, burying the needle in the rev limiter and locking and, you know, kind of binding the rear of the car up. The back end's already, you know, twitchy enough as it is. I'd rather wear out a set of brake pads. could definitely carry more speed through the corners because the cars are probably a little bit lighter than this one. But I've got power. Push, push. Going wide. I can get my braking done well there. So I still had steering to the left when I started going back to the throttle, and the car started to lurch on me a bit when I was ready to go back the other direction. Try and be neat and tidy for a few laps. As I immediately start going across curbing. What I may try to do is still use the access road as kind of the first, I don't want to call it apex, to get the car there, but maybe not try to keep it so far to the inside for the transition back to the front straightaway. I'm afraid the car wants to, the back end wants to step out because it's that whole trying to bounce the throttle out of the corner. It's a little more comfortable. Where are we at? 31 point. Okay, yeah, we can do 16 laps. It'll just be 64% maybe. Oh, that's late. And thinking about tire strategy, not paying attention to what I'm doing. Yeah, so 16 on the hards is doable. So let's do 16, and then we'll go to the mediums to the end of the race. A gaggle of cars in front of me. Yeah, that left right definitely is going to be one of those. Just pay attention to what the car is telling you, because it will. If the back end wants to start stepping out, it will tell you. Excuse me. Credit to the driver tires, they're not making as many mistakes as I would have thought. Well, I say that. A little too much curbing. that little bit of a bump on the transition that you might unsettle the back of the car just a smidge. And I'm in that place where I don't know this. Well, not this lap, but yeah, they're way wide there. But I'm running about the same pace as the cars in front of me, just in a different way. And again, I'm starting to think and drive at the same time. Definitely not a car that you can hustle it. You got to be very deliberate and very smooth with your inputs. Big running down. Still in second gear. Again, it's like, be nice to know kind of like what the other drivers are running as far as tires. But just kind of given, he's going into the pits. Yep. Makes me wonder if they were running on. They're probably running on mediums. I'm guessing, but it'd be nice to kind of have that information. Yeah, oh yeah, they're definitely pushing now. I think if the car wasn't pushing before. Thing is too is I don't have anybody right behind me, so it should be pretty easy pit in. And this is definitely a track I would practice pit in, because I'm going to race down here hard on the brakes, get the car brakes again, and get the car in. You don't want to drop tires on the left side, because then as you're trying to get back to the throttle, you'll spin up and nose into the right side wall. Ask me how I know that. Because yeah, I do a few laps before I do these streams, and I did have that issue. So, but yeah, but because it's also kind of on the racing line, and you have to really slow down to get into the pits. You know, if you got somebody behind you, just communicate. Keep the car to the right side, all the way to the white line ends. I'm just going to hold the inside. Where are we at? 10th place. Pretty good. Someone's murdering tires there in front of me. Come on. What are you doing? My guess is they're going to do a second stop. So we'll see how far that brings us up the order. But if I'm 9th now, so the car lurched a little bit because I was still trying to turn left when it was time to go right. And the car just does not like that. I could definitely brake probably a smidgen later there. Again, medium tires. They're a little bit wide, and that just then compromises my exit here. See how the car kind of lurched there coming back across the curbing? That's what I was talking about earlier, is, you know, if you don't expect it and you have any kind of throttle going, Good afternoon, Mr. Shaggy SoCal. Did you know that aluminum siding can increase the value of your home? That was one of my lovely wife's friends calling to say hello. We've been paying attention to intervals here, so. Alright, so I'm pulling out a gap now on South. A little over 4 seconds to Melon, so let's see if we can close that up. Definitely close it up if you're going to lock your brakes like that. Yeah, I really need to get out of that habit. This car just does not want to cross over curbs. At least not apex curbs. This one is okay. Oh, that's a lap car in front of me. That's why I'm catching him. Blue flag, blue flag. Doesn't help lap time.
3 more.
Copy that. Again, here I just talked about last lap. I'm not crossing over the curb there. Old habits die hard. That's not quick. That's a bad line. That was a little bit late. Where are we at on tires? Can't blame on the tire yet. Still below 50%. And the nice thing with this version of Forza Motorsport as opposed to FM7, you know, with the whole track rubbering they've added, late in a race, you know, since I've decided to, you know, turn off the braking line and kind of learn things on my own or just relearn things, it's kind of nice to see, you know, the rubber inline kind of develop over the course of the race. So then that makes up for the lack of the virtual one. And I can kind of see where, you know, I can start. It gets a little easier in some cases as the race goes on to see where I need to brake or where the line is. It's not a good lap. Looks like we're gonna hopefully hang on to a top 5. Whoa. All right, so when I had talked about outside curbs can upset the car, that's what I'm talking about. So just, you know, leave yourself a little room under braking on outside curbs, because this car will bite, or they will bite. And that's Mugello. Top five, I'll take it. Sounding car too. 2746. So yeah, that might be. Again, we aim for a 30 lap race, so it might be. Well, again, I'm not factoring in bucket delays or yeah, well, the bucket delays mainly are the biggest thing. So it might be at 27 laps might be on target, because then you figure that might add a minute or so to the total time, which would put it in that 29 to 30 minute range. So yeah, so give it 27, give or take a lap. Probably more give than take. So with that, I think that's going to do it for. It's just it looked like I launched the Alpha into orbit there. So with that, that'll do it for this track guide. Yeah, again, it's going to be fun. It's going to be an interesting season with the Alpha. It's definitely going to test your ability to kind of sense what the car is doing, work with understeer, and not put the car in a position where the back end's going to swap ends. So with that, I'm going to stop talking. I'm actually going to end the live stream. Hope you guys are having a good weekend, and we'll see you on Thursday night. Happy racing.